Hey, guess what? This is my theme song! In this movie, Optimus Prime has an all-out brawl with 3 Decepticons, Megatron, Starscream, and a third one who I'm not sure, I think it was Blackout, but I'm not entirely sure who it was. Either way, Optimus Prime kills him. Optimus Prime was a badass in this movie, and you could clearly see what was happening in this fight, because all the other Autobots were like gone, like they hadn't caught up yet, and Optimus Prime jumped in the fray to defend Sam, and these 3 Decepticons attacked him, and he like ripped off Blackout's face defending and fighting against him, and it was pretty kick-ass. Like, you could clearly tell what was happening and how Optimus was kicking their asses. Of course, this is also the fight, being that Optimus was outnumbered 3-1, where Megatron kills him, just like in the original. I have to say that not only was it essential that they kill off Optimus Prime in the original 1986 movie, but it's in fact what made him an icon. Before the 2007 movie came out, Optimus Prime was the only Transformer that anybody ever really talked about. That's because he was an icon. Nobody even mentioned Optimus Prime's second in command, Ultra Magnus. When they killed off Optimus Prime back in 1986, they actually lost a whole bunch of fans. Like, there were kids that locked themselves in their room for days and didn't eat because they were so upset that Optimus Prime died. But then, of course, when the 2007 movie came out, everybody started obsessing over Bumblebee. I must say, Bumblebee did become quite the badass, especially in this movie. In this movie, Bumblebee fights off both Ravage and Demolisher. You can clearly see Bumblebee tear Ravage into 2 pieces in his spinal cord, dripping fluid and just But in this movie, under the command of the Fallen, 6 different Decepticons go down to the bottom of the Laurentian Abyss and resurrect Megatron using a remaining piece of the cube. In the first movie, the Allspark, which I always thought was kind of dumb. I don't remember anything at all in previous versions of Transformers about an Allspark. Another thing I liked was their reference to their sparks, which was a concept that was created in Beast Wars in the early 90s, not actually in the first generation. In Generation 1, they referred to it as their laser core. Now, if you're not familiar with it, in the old cartoon, there were things called combiners, which was a group of like 5 or more Transformers that combined to form one big Transformer. The first of which was Devastator. The Constructicons, who were construction vehicles, there were like 5 or 6 of them, merged to form Devastator, the biggest and most powerful Decepticon. He, of course, was in this movie, which was really cool that they did that. The movie also features Dr. Arkeville. In the original cartoon, Dr. Arkeville was a human, and they kind of changed his character for this and made him into a robot, and he was like a scientific thing, like a eyeglass, what do you call it, looking through the thing? I don't know what it's called. They just call him Doctor. They don't call him Dr. Arkeville, which they should have called him Dr. Arkeville. That's a pretty cool name, I think. Our old friend Scorponok makes another return, but he's not in it for very long before Jetfire kills him. And there were about a dozen other Decepticons that I didn't recognize at all. I was never really a fan of the way that they looked now. They should have kept the old look, or truer to the old look, but I understand they have to like upgrade it for movies, for the movie and stuff. They have to like make it more modernized looking and stuff, but I liked the way they looked before, That was way cooler. And the transformations weren't so complicated. Like, looking at one of the characters, you could clearly tell what piece went where, They didn't have to like jump and tumble over 3 times to hide what is actually being done in their transformation. You could clearly tell how they were transforming. Now, although I do love this movie very much, and I'm going to see it several more times while it's in the theater, and then I'm going to own it the night that it comes out on DVD, it was not a perfect movie. There were things I didn't like about it. This movie features a Transformer that turned into a human girl who sees Sam writing some of the language of the Primes and recognizes that he's got the power of the Allspark in his mind, and she tries to seduce him so that she could get to his mind and get what the Allspark gave him. And then when the big reveal came that she was in fact a Transformer and not a human, she turned from this really cool, attractive blonde chick to the chick that was possessed by demons in The Exorcist. Why is it that the Decepticons have to growl? That's unnecessary. I mean, I understand it makes them more intimidating and all, but the only one that should be growling is Ravage, because Ravage is actually an animal that growls. They shouldn't have brought back Megatron. In the original, after Megatron dies, they introduce his successor, Galvatron. Now, technically, it's the same guy because Unicron made Megatron into Galvatron. Man, there's a lot of ons. But Galvatron was much more powerful than Megatron was. They should have introduced Galvatron somehow instead of resurrecting Megatron. Although this movie does focus more on the Transformers themselves than the first one did, it still focused way too much on the humans and not enough on the actual Transformers. Like, I didn't watch this movie for Megan Fox, like most people did. I didn't watch this movie to see a cute girl. If I wanted to see a hot chick in a movie, there are plenty of other movies that I could watch. I watched this movie for Optimus Prime. And also, there was way too much shaky cam. Also, I did not like the soundtrack to this movie. There wasn't a single band on the soundtrack that I like at all. I don't like Linkin Park. Overall, I'm gonna give this movie a 4.5 stars out of 5 because I loved it. There were too many good things that I kind of overlooked all the bad things.